Hi, my name's Azure. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, I use the Akashic Records to ask questions or get guidance on things that we're all kind of curious about. Today we're going to be talking about past life vows. What are they and what do they mean and can you break them? So let's get started and see what the guides have to say. So, past life vows are things that you vowed in a past life. Seems pretty obvious, but there's more to it. What it means is that there are different ways that you could have done this. You could have, for example, taken a vow of poverty. And that could have been, you were, let's say, a nun in a past life, and you took a vow of poverty. And in some way, shape, or form, that vow of poverty has stayed with you into future lifetimes because of the way you took that vow. Another example would be to oftentimes you'll hear that people have taken a vow to I will never love anyone but you, or we'll be to I'll never be with anybody else in all lifetimes, and people say it as a means of trying to be nice or romantic or dramatic or whatever it is, right, to express their full love. But what they don't realize is that it can create a vow that affects you for lifetimes to come. And so these are things that we are often unaware of, but affect our lives significantly. And it's not until we can have some insight as to whether or not we have these vows and until we know that whether or not we need to take action and break those vows. And so let's see what else they have to say. And so they're saying, yes, you can break those vows. There does seem to need to be a certain amount of awareness as to what the vows are. Like, they're saying you can't exactly just blanketly say, if ever I've made any vows in a past life, I want to break it. Because that, first of all, isn't how it works. And secondly, the reason you can't do blanketed statements like that is because you're not like, how do I say this? There could be 100 past life vows that you've made, and some of them, and I don't have an example in this moment, maybe they'll give me one of something that you would want to keep, or that you would want to keep. Like, you don't want to lump it all into together. And so it's quite messy, or it's quite haphazard to just break all the vows. And anyway, it doesn't really work that way. You have to have awareness, a little bit of awareness around the ones that you're breaking, and or the person who's working energetically with you has to have an awareness of what they're doing, because there has to be this kind of agreement between you, your higher self, and if there's another person doing it, that there's an awareness of what is happening and that you're breaking that vow intentionally. And so you wouldn't want to blanketly break vows, because, and plus you just, it's not something they kind of like allow you to do, apparently. So yes, so this could be around vow of poverty. There could be all sorts of different love vows. There could be vows basically about any aspect of life. And sometimes they're intentional, like you're aware that you're making the vow. And again, sometimes they are things that are kind of inadvertently vowed to. And so if you are struggling with a certain place in your life, maybe it is in the love or relationship arena, or maybe it's because, or it's in the financial abundance arena. Past life vows are something that you might want to consider, or if someone is doing energy work on you, you might want to ask them to see if there's any vows that come up around that area. It can also be a vow of solitude or a vow. One came up a second ago. What was it? So it's like maybe you're really lonely in this lifetime and you don't know why, you can't let people in, you don't want to. And it could have been a vow of you just shut everybody off and I'm never going to let anybody in again. And so these are things that we may say out of our mouth, or intentions that we may set in prior lifetimes, and even maybe in this lifetime. Maybe in this lifetime we've also set some vows unintentionally, inadvertently. And so that is what is happening, is that advertently or inadvertently we've been setting these past life vows, and oftentimes there are things that we need to break. And they are saying that most of the time there would be no issue in breaking them. There are situations where potentially it would be a little bit more complicated than that to break the vow. But that is not something they're going to kind of get into here. But it would be something that basically you would know if it were simple to break, because when you or the energy worker is asking, can we break the vow, then you would be told yes or no and why. And so let's see what else they have to say about past life vows. So they're also saying that past life vows can also create, so sometimes it's not as simple as just breaking the vow. Sometimes those past life vows then put you in a situation in a lifetime where you're going to have a trauma or a scenario where there's something that gets stuck energetically with your soul, in your energy body. And so it's not only just clearing out or breaking the vow, it's also clearing anything that is related to that thing, or that has happened because of that thing. And so this is why, energy work becomes a little bit more complicated, and you want someone who can navigate all of this, because it's not, it's not as simple as just going in and being like, I want to break any vow I've ever made. It's not. This can be very complicated, and it can be complex to navigate. And so, so it's not just as easy as breaking the vow. It's also finding everything that's kind of attached to that vow, and everything that is still present because of it, and also clearing all of that too. And so, they just wanted to make that clear, that it's not as simple as just breaking the vow. Let's see what else they have to say. There doesn't seem to be much else other than just to be mindful that this is a thing, and to kind of be mindful of your words as well. Because especially around this love thing, we tend to just be like, I want to love you for all lifetimes to come, or whatever it is, right? And we're trying to be romantic, but we should really consider whether or not that is what we want, and if that's setting us up for a position of, what if you're not contracted with that person in the next life? Does that mean you're going to be alone for that life because you've vowed to only love that person, right? And so it sounds very romantic to say, but it's about watching our words and being intentional with our words, and just making sure that we're not inadvertently entering into a vow that we, don't intend to enter into. And so obviously your vow, your choice, but just having awareness around it. Okay, so I hope this helps, and I hope you're having a great day. Take care.